From the very first moment she saw him walking out of the cafe, shaking his head before she even stood up, Emily felt the kind of familiar heartbreak that settles deep inside the chest, quiet, heavy, and devastating. Christmas lights flickered behind her as though mocking her loneliness, reflecting on the window like tiny stars she could never quite reach. It wasn't the first time a blind date had rejected her the moment he saw her, and she feared it wouldn't be the last. The cold December wind outside felt warmer than the empty chair across from her, and Emily realized she had entered the season of love carrying nothing but another bruise on her confidence. Her heart whispered that this year, like the many before, would pass without magic. If you believe in kindness, miracles, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so more people can feel stories like this. Emily stepped out of the cafe slowly, her scarf pulled up to hide the rising heat in her cheeks. She tried to convince herself it didn't hurt, but the rejection carved deeper because she had allowed herself to hope again. Christmas was always the hardest time for her. Her parents had passed away years earlier, and the small apartment she returned to every night echoed with the absence of a family she never had. She wanted companionship, a hand to hold during winter nights, and laughter to replace the growing silence in her life. But with each passing year, she felt like time was slipping away from her, leaving her standing still while life moved forward without her. Snow began to fall gently as she walked through the decorated streets. Lights wrapped around every pole, couples sharing warm drinks, families carrying gifts, everything seemed to highlight what she lacked. Emily carried herself with quiet dignity, but inside she was tired, tired of waiting for something good to happen, tired of being strong alone. She wandered until she reached the small park where her parents once took her every Christmas Eve. It was almost empty now, with only a few kids running around and a man sitting by a bench watching them. Emily sat at the far end of the park, letting the cold soothe her burning disappointment. Just as she was about to leave, two small figures ran toward her, twin girls, identical curls bouncing beneath their red winter hats, cheeks flushed from the cold. They stopped in front of her, breathing hard, their big brown eyes filled with something she couldn't quite explain. Emily looked around to see if someone was calling them, but the park remained quiet. The twins stared at her as if she was someone they'd been searching for all along. There was something almost magical about the way they approached her, shy but determined, hesitant yet full of longing. They sat beside her without speaking, leaning their tiny shoulders against her as though they had always known her. Emily felt a pull in her chest, an aching tenderness she hadn't felt in years. She didn't know who they were, yet their presence warmed her frozen heart. She listened as they spoke softly about missing someone, about wanting Christmas to feel whole again, and about how everyone kept telling them to be patient. Their small voices trembled with a sadness far too heavy for children. Emily felt her heart breaking open. She found herself comforting them, gently holding their hands as though it was the most natural thing in the world. When their father approached, worried and breathless, Emily realized why the girls felt so familiar in their sadness. The man looked exhausted, carrying the expression of someone who had lost his partner not long ago. His eyes softened with relief when he found the twins safely beside her. Emily noticed how he tried to hide the ache in his chest every time the girls mentioned their mother. He thanked Emily sincerely for watching over them, and the warmth in his voice startled her, genuine, grateful, and unexpectedly gentle. She wasn't used to being seen that way. As they spoke, something shifted in the air. The twins never left Emily's side, clutching her coat, their tiny hands wrapped around her fingers as though they feared she would disappear. The father introduced himself, and she learned how the twins had been struggling, how Christmas had become a painful reminder of the mother they adored. Emily felt tears stinging her eyes, not just for them but for the strange way fate had guided them toward her on the loneliest night of her year. When the father finally said they should leave, the girls clung to Emily, refusing to let go. They looked up at her with trembling voices and innocent hope, and in that fragile moment, they asked the question that froze the world around her, the question that cracked her heart open completely. They wanted to know if she would be a part of their Christmas, a part of their lives, a part of their world in the way only someone with a mother's love could be. Emily felt something inside her melt, a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She didn't answer immediately, but the silent promise in her eyes was enough for the father to understand that something beautiful had begun. Over the next days, everything changed. Emily found herself waking up with a purpose, her mornings filled with giggles, drawings, little hands tugging her sleeves, and a father who looked at her with the quiet admiration of a man who had found hope again. She cooked with them, helped them decorate their home, and listened to their stories about their mother, treating every memory with tenderness. Slowly, gently, without forcing anything, she became the warmth their home had been missing. The father noticed how the twins glowed around her, how they reached for her hand first, how they slept peacefully for the first time in months. He began to see Emily not as a stranger, but as someone fate had sent to mend what grief had broken. For Emily, this unexpected connection felt like a miracle written in snowfall and Christmas lights. Christmas morning arrived, and as they sat together near the glowing tree, the twins handed Emily a small, clumsily wrapped gift. When she opened it, she found a drawing, 4 stick figures holding hands under a sky of twinkling stars. On top, in crooked handwriting, were the words that made her cry harder than she ever had in her life: our family. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to help more people feel the warmth of stories like this. Before the story ends, comment below: family is the greatest Christmas miracle. And in that moment, Emily understood that rejection had not been the end of her story, it had been the beginning of the greatest gift she never expected: a home, a love, and a family who chose her with the purest hearts imaginable.